The following is a class on the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, Chapter 2, Text 23, given by His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, recorded on November 3rd, 1990 in Mumbai. Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Krishna Kirtana Kananartana Kala Pato Jani Brajita Sadbhakta Valihangsa Chakran Madhupa Sreni Viharaspadam Karnanandikaladvanir Vahatume Jiva Maru Prangane Sri Chaitanya Dayanidheta Valasal Lila Shuddha Swarduni. O merciful Lord Chaitanya, may the nectarine Ganges waters of your transcendental activities flow on the surface of my desert-like tongue. Beautifying these waters are the lotus flowers of singing, dancing, and loud chanting of Krishna's holy name, which are the pleasure abodes of unalloyed devotees. These devotees are compared to swans, ducks, and bees. The river's flowing produces a melodious sound that gladdens the ears. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Our tongues are always engaged in vibrating useless sounds that do not help us realize transcendental peace. The tongue is compared to a desert because a desert needs a constant supply of refreshing water to make it fertile and fruitful. Water is the substance most needed in the desert. The transient pleasure derived from mundane topics of art, culture, politics, sociology, dry philosophy, poetry, and so on, is compared to a mere drop of water, because although such topics have a qualitative feature of transcendental pleasure, they are saturated with the modes of material nature. Therefore, neither collectively nor individually can they satisfy the vast requirements of the desert-like tongue. Despite crying in various conferences, therefore, the desert-like tongue continues to be parched. For this reason, people from all parts of the world must call for the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who are compared to swans swimming around in the beautiful lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or bees humming around his lotus feet in transcendental pleasure, searching for honey. The dryness of material happiness cannot be moistened by so-called philosophers who cry for Brahman, liberation, and similar dry speculative objects. The urge of the soul proper is different. The soul can be solaced only by the mercy of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his bona fide devotees, who never leave the lotus feet of the Lord to become imitation Mahaprabhus, but who all cling to his lotus feet like bees that never leave the honey-soaked lotus flower. Lord Chaitanya's movement of Krishna consciousness is full of dancing and singing about the pastimes of Lord Krishna. It is compared herein to the pure waters of the Ganges, which are full of lotus flowers. The enjoyers of these lotus flowers are the pure devotees, who are like bees and swans. They chant like the flowing of the Ganges, the river of the celestial kingdom. The author desires such sweetly flowing waves to cover his tongue. He humbly compares himself to materialistic persons who always engage in dry talk from which they derive no satisfaction. If they were to use their dry tongues to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, as exemplified by Lord Chaitanya, they would taste sweet nectar and enjoy life. This very beautiful poetic sloka composed by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, is a prayer to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, out of his great compassion, is taking the position of the ordinary man in the age of Kali Yuga. Not only is he taking it for our benefit, but he's revealing the true feelings of his own heart. The great souls always consider themselves nothing more than ordinary men. Of course, there are a class of impersonalists who, by the acquirement of mystic siddhis or the ability to control the minds of others, they declare themselves to be Bhagwan or God. And those who are neophytes on the path of bhakti, they consider themselves to be very great souls, very extraordinary beings. But those who are true in the honesty of real devotion, in their hearts they are feeling themselves to be just very plain, ordinary, simple persons, fallen and unfortunate due to a great lack of love of God and due to so many shortcomings in their own lives. It is the nature of this type of humility that attracts Krishna. Nothing else will attract Krishna. So, here Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he is speaking from the core of his heart in his prayer to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is appealing to the Lord that my tongue is like a desert. A desert is most useless because nothing can grow in a desert because of a lack of water. No fruit can ripen in the desert because of a lack of water. So similarly, the fruit of love of God can only fructify within our life when there is a constant flow of water. And that water, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is explaining, is the sweet nectaring pastimes of the Lord which appears upon our tongue. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is praying to the Lord that let the desert of my tongue always have the nectaring flowing Ganges of your transcendental pastimes flowing upon it. And the devotees of the Lord, they pray in this way because they understand that the tongue alone has the power to liberate us or to keep us in the bondage of ignorance. It is said that if one can control the tongue, one can control all the other senses. But if this tongue is uncontrolled, it is impossible to properly control any of the other senses. Sometimes this human form of life is compared to a boat. Have you ever seen a boat? Sometimes there are gigantic ships in which thousands of persons can fit on that ship at a time. Now, what steers the ship? It is one piece of either wood or metal called a rudder. It's not very big. Compared to the rest of the ship, it's just one small piece. And when that rudder turns one way, the whole ship goes that way. And when the rudder turns the other way, the whole ship turns the other way. So factually, it's this one little piece of wood that is controlling the direction of the whole gigantic boat. So the tongue is compared to a rudder. We have this big, big body, and the tongue is just a few inches long. But the whole direction of your human life depends on how your tongue is being used. Therefore, spiritual life begins by the process of hearing, and through the process of hearing, we learn how to control our tongue by chanting the holy names of the Lord and by discussing His transcendental activities. And what is the real meaning of silence? Silence means no material sound vibration. But isn't silence the way of the impersonalists, the Mayavadis? Isn't transcendental sound vibration higher than silence? And he explains that transcendental sound vibration is silence. It is transcendental sound that silences material sound vibration. Therefore, real silence is to only speak those things which are productive and beneficial to our Krishna consciousness and the Krishna consciousness of others. If we do not have something to say that is enlightening, it is better to say nothing. But it is best to keep one's tongue constantly flowing with the Ganges of the transcendental nectarine names and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, He has come to teach us, by His teachings and by His example, how to always keep our tongue engaged in the Lord's service. And through this process alone, how to direct one's entire human existence in devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is said that a fool remains undetected until he speaks. And this is often very true. But let us take the example of Jad Bharat. He appeared to be the greatest fool until he spoke. When Maharaj Rahugna saw Jad Bharat, he thought he was just a crazy, uncivilized dweller of the jungle. But when his tongue began to vibrate the beautiful transcendental glories of the Supreme Lord and the highest philosophy of life, the king of the earth, Maharaj Rahugna, got off of his royal palanquin and laid in the dust of the ground to offer obeisances and surrender to Jad Bharat. So this is the power of sound vibration. And in this material creation, it is described that the subtlest of all energy is sound. Because sound is that sense object which fills the ether. And the ether is the subtlest of all gross material elements. And it is through sound that Lord Brahma creates the entire cosmic manifestation within this material universe. And it is also through transcendental sound that we can transcend and neutralize the effects of this entire material existence. Therefore, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to teach us how through the process of vibrating transcendental sound we can destroy material existence. We can purify our hearts, purify our minds, and we can situate our consciousness in the spiritual world simply through the process of transcendental sound vibration. And we read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Leela of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what do we find? In every chapter, in every page, practically all there is the Lord either dancing and chanting with His devotees or discussing Krishna's pastimes or Krishna's philosophy with His devotees. There's nothing else there. So, how important it is, especially on this most glorious occasion of Gaur Purnima, the appearance of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into this world, to understand what he has given us and to appreciate within our hearts the opportunity that he is giving us to perfect our lives through transcendental sound vibration. Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even his appearance in this world was something so wonderful and so glorious that in the history of all creation no one has seen anything like it. On this particular day of the full moon night of the month of Phalgun, there was occasion of the lunar eclipse. Now it is said that at the time of the lunar eclipse, any spiritual practice you perform has thousands of times the effect in elevating your consciousness than in an ordinary time. And if one does not engage in spiritual activities at the time of lunar eclipse, it is a very, very contaminating condition for one's consciousness. You see, we should know that whenever the Lord gives us an opportunity to make spiritual advancement, at the same time, he gives us the opportunity to degrade ourselves. Just like in Vrindavan, if you commit an offense, it is 100 times against you. And if you make any spiritual advancement, it is 100 times more beneficial than in another place. So when the Lord gives an opportunity, he gives the opportunity for you to go up or down. That is why when the tests come into our life, and they will come, we should know that whenever the Lord tests us, it is an opportunity to go up or down. If we act according to the will of the Lord, in the testing situation we make more advancement than it would ever have been possible ever before under any other circumstance. But if we do not act Krishna conscious in that condition, we will go down. And when you're being tested, you cannot stay in the middle. You either have to go up or down. Because of our natural condition of lethargy, especially our spiritual laziness, we generally externally, ritualistically perform our spiritual activities, but our heart and soul oftentimes is not really into helplessly taking shelter of Krishna, taking shelter of our duty in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, the Lord, in order to facilitate our spiritual development, he puts us in conditions of life where we either have to go up or we have to go down. And that is a test of our sincerity. So at the time of the great lunar eclipse, practically everyone took the opportunity to go to the holy rivers, such as the Ganges and the Jamuna, because the holy rivers are most purifying. It is a place where your whole existence is purified simply by touching the waters. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, he prays to Mother Ganga Devi that your waters are so purifying that even the breeze that is coming from your stream can purify one from all his sins. What to speak of hearing the celestial sound of your current? What to speak of drinking your waters or submerging body in your waters? So at this time, all people, by the millions and millions and millions, were crowded into the river Ganges. And with loud, tumultuous voices, they were chanting the holy names of Krishna. Understand, at the time, the people of India were in a most degraded and atheistic condition of consciousness. People were mainly attached to either the impersonal conception of the Absolute, or they were scholars who were very, very expert at learning Sanskrit, grammar, logic, but they were so proud of their scholarship, there was not even a tinge of devotion in their hearts, nor was there even the slightest inclination of turning to Krishna. The process of bhakti was totally unmanifested except for a few most fortunate souls. People were worshipping the demigods like anything because they were completely addicted and attached to material enjoyment. But at the time of the lunar eclipse, because of the potential auspicious or inauspicious results of how you behave, it was the tradition, it was the ritual for everyone to be in the Ganges chanting the holy names loudly. In this way, everyone's tongues, which were normally like deserts, simply discussing the dry subject matter of material existence, they were all chanting with great volume, tumultuous vibration. They were chanting the holy name of Krishna. And at this most auspicious of all times, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, appeared in this world. The most auspicious place to be is wherever the Lord's name is being chanted. Because it is explained that the Lord's name is the essence of all auspiciousness. And nothing can possibly be inauspicious if the name of God is being chanted. Sometimes people have superstitious inclinations that this particular sign is inauspicious, and astrologically this is inauspicious, and this appears to be inauspicious. And according to the material laws of nature, according to karma, there are certain signs that indicate inauspiciousness. But we should know, and we should have faith, that the name of God is so auspicious that nothing inauspicious can remain in its presence. Krishna Surya Sa Maya Hoya Andakar Yahan Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Adhikar. Krishna is like the sun and Maya is like darkness. The darkness cannot stand before the sun. Krishna, his name is all auspicious. And this material world, without Krishna consciousness, is nothing but inauspicious. Therefore, a devotee knows that whenever the name of Krishna is chanted, whenever the name of Krishna is awakened within our heart, whatever takes place in our life is auspicious. Even apparently to our eyes, if something may appear to be very inauspicious, if the name of God is being remembered, we can understand we are in the most auspicious condition in the entire universe. So Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the age of Kali, which is the most inauspicious of all ages, in the city of Navadvip, which was a city of demigod worshippers, a city of terribly proud scholars and impersonalists, and absolutely materialistic people. The most inauspicious place from the point of view of how people were behaving. Along with his advent, he appeared with his holy name to create supreme auspiciousness in all directions. It is said by Srila Lochandas Thakur, Parama Karuna Pahundu Ijana Nitai Gora Chandra Saba Avatara Saba Siromani Kevala Ananda Kanda. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu are supremely merciful. In fact, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the essence of all incarnations. He is the essence of all incarnations because he has brought, through the auspicious invocation of his own holy name, he has brought a joyful process which can completely neutralize all the effects of Kali Yuga. This morning, I think it is very, very important for the devotees to meditate upon what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us. Because factually, by learning all of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, and by scrutinizingly assimilating his entire philosophy, if it does not bring one to the point of seriously taking shelter of the holy name of Krishna, you have not understood anything. Because Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has specifically come as the Yuga Avatar. And his beautiful divine Leela, which is full of nectar, which is full of the sweetest and the most pleasurable loving exchanges between he and his eternal associates, which exemplifies the supreme mercy of the Lord, which has never been manifested in any other incarnation of God. All of these pastimes and his profound philosophy, which includes every other philosophy, that philosophy which utterly defeated the greatest Pandit, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, that philosophy which completely annihilated all the concepts of the greatest of all Shankar's supporters, Prakasananda Saraswati. That philosophy that caused all the great scholars of all the various aspects of religion throughout the world to bow down before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and surrender. This beautiful Leela, this tremendous philosophy, is all meant simply to bring us to accept the Yuga Dharma of taking shelter of the name of Krishna. Whatever else we do in our spiritual life, if we fail to learn the importance of taking shelter of the name of Krishna, then our spiritual life will have great defect. And in Kali Yuga, we will not be able to properly make spiritual advancement. The essence of the Leela of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Harinam Sankirtan movement. And how to chant the holy names? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his Shikshastakam prayers, he explains very nicely. In fact, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his Shikshastakam prayers, he's essentially glorifying the name of Krishna. He's explaining the glories of the name, and he's explaining the proper consciousness in which to chant the name. And then as a result of such chanting, the Shikshastakam prayers explains the sweet mood of pure devotion in separation of the Supreme Lord that manifests within one's heart. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has prayed, Nam Nam Akari Bahudha Nija Sarva Shakti Stitrapita Niyamita Smaranena Kala Ethadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Duradaivam Idrisham Ihajani Nanuraga. That there are no hard and fast rules for chanting your holy names, my Lord. And your name is so beautiful and so powerful that all of your divine energies are within each syllable of your name. But he describes that he has no attraction for the sound of the name of God. In other words, unless we are humble, as long as we think that we are spiritually advanced, we cannot properly chant the name of God. Therefore, even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is admitting that I have no spiritual advancement. I have no attraction for your names. And through this process, he is teaching us. Although when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would chant the name of God, such ecstatic manifestations and transformation that took place in his body, no one has ever seen. His eyes would just begin to flow tears that would just soak everything around him with the beautiful Ganges like water from his eyes. And his hairs would stand straight up on end. His limbs would tremble. Sometimes his bones would become utterly disjointed. Sometimes there were several inches of nothing but flesh between one half of a joint and another. Sometimes he would just begin to make roaring sounds like thunder uncontrollably. Sometimes his body would go into transformations where people could not even recognize that he was a human being. These were the symptoms of ecstasy which no one has ever seen, ever before or ever since, that were manifesting on the body of Lord Chaitanya when he would hear the sweet sound of the name. And most of us, when we are trying to chant japa, the name is on our tongue and our mind is just running in some opposite direction toward this material world. Where is the ecstasy manifesting in our lives? And sometimes when we're really chanting attentively, we feel very nice. But what is that ecstasy compared to that of the manifestations and transformations seen on Lord Chaitanya's body? And yet we think we're very advanced. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is telling us that, my Lord, I'm crying in great agony because I have no attraction for the sound of your name. It is this type of humility that attracts the mercy of the holy name. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has personally exhibited in his own example how the common man can perfect his life through the simple process of chanting. Just like it is in Vrindavan, we were recently at Imlital. He would sit in a secluded place, and on his beads he would chant japa. Imlital was a very, very secluded, quiet place on the bank of the Jamuna, where he could completely just immerse his consciousness totally in the sweet sound of Krishna's name, where he would either softly or silently bathe his heart in the sound of Harinam. And he also taught us the process which is the simplest process, and that is Harinam Kirtan. To dance, and in the process of dancing, with the graceful gestures of our body, being offered as a sacrifice for the pleasure of the Lord, to be chanting His holy name very loudly, filling the entire atmosphere in the association of devotees. Recently, I was in Rishikesh, and one devotee was recently there, and he was preaching that this dancing is not really very good because most people do not dance for the pleasure of Krishna, they dance for their sense gratification, therefore we shouldn't dance. And one new devotee was very confused. He asked me in class, so we should stop dancing? Most of us dance because we enjoy it, not because Krishna enjoys it. So I asked him, do you enjoy eating prasad? He said, yes. I said, then you should also stop eating prasad. I asked the pujari, do you enjoy dressing the deities? He said, yes. I said, does everybody who dressed the deities enjoy dressing the deities? They said, yes. Then nobody should dress the deities anymore. Sometimes do you enjoy japa? They said, sometimes, yes. Well, then whenever you enjoy it, you should just stop your japa. Does the cook enjoy cooking for the deities? Yes, yes, I enjoy cooking. Then nobody should cook for the deities anymore. The point is, we should not be doing these things for our own enjoyment. That is a very neophyte stage, to perform our devotional activities because we enjoy it. If we are sincere, we will be concentrating on focusing on how this is for the pleasure of Krishna. Whether I like to do it or do not like to do it, it is for the pleasure of Krishna. But simply by doing it, because it's a pure spiritual activity, which has been mercifully given to us by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and all the previous acharyas, simply by doing it, we will become purified of the desire to enjoy. That is why prasad is our secret weapon. People generally, they eat prasad simply because they enjoy it. But through the process of eating it, because it's a pure spiritual activity of eating prasad, gradually they become purified of the desire to enjoy, and then they learn how to honor prasad. Simply the chanting of the holy name. We may be chanting because it is very enjoyable. So let us enjoy. Let everyone enjoy the chanting, and through the process of enjoying, we will gradually become purified of the desire to enjoy. The process of dancing, yes, it is blissful. Here it is described by Srila Prabhupada. How the chanting and the dancing of the holy name is beautiful, it is joyful. And in the age of Kali Yuga, people will not be attracted to something if it is dry. Therefore, the Lord has given such a wonderful, beautiful, enjoyable way of purifying your existence through this divine process. But as devotees who are becoming more and more mature, we should know, for the outside people, let them just come because it's enjoyable. Let us attract them in this way. But for ourselves, we have to understand that the same process should be done in such a way that is a sacrifice and an offering for the pleasure of God. And whether we enjoy or do not enjoy, that is not our concern. Our concern is that Krishna is enjoying. So I think it is very important that we organize our kirtans in such a way that devotees can meditate most on pleasing Krishna. Now, the two processes of chanting the holy names is japa and kirtan. So we should inaugurate on this auspicious day. This is the day of the appearance of the Golden Avatar, who has specifically come to teach us the process of chanting and dancing in kirtan. We should organize a method of having kirtan in such a way that the devotees are most conscious of Krishna, most conscious of his name, most conscious of the fact that we are sacrificing our every movement and our every moment in kirtan for Krishna's pleasure. Dancing should be sweet, it should be graceful, and it should be organized. Then not only will it help our own consciousness in understanding the real purpose of kirtan, but it will also attract the world. Because everyone will be very attracted to seeing the pleasing, graceful kirtan of Sri Gaura Sundar's devotees. Even the most hard-hearted men, their hearts should melt when they see the beautiful kirtan of Lord Gaur Hari. So I think this evening or this afternoon we should have some sort of a conference. After all, our philosophy is meant to be practically applied. First of all, in Lord Chaitanya's parties of kirtan, there was always a leader. There was a leader of the singers and there was a leader of the dancers. If you read in the Ratayatra, it is explained that there were so many mridanga players, so many kartal players, and they all would follow a particular leader of the mridanga and kartal players. What one mridanga player played, everyone played. What one kartal player played, everyone played. It wasn't that everyone was just playing whatever they wanted to play. There was one leader of the singers, and what that person was singing, everyone would follow. Everyone's ears were absolutely attentive to hear his voice, and they would sing exactly what he would sing. And there was also another devotee who was the leader of the dancers. Not everyone would just dance the way they wanted to dance. Everyone would follow the leader. And, of course, Srila Prabhupada used to tell us that the way of the dancing of the associates of Lord Chaitanya is with their arms raised, very graceful. We should develop beautiful formations in which we dance together as a unit. Not that everyone's just doing his own thing, but we're all dancing together as a unit. And our every gesture of our body, we should understand that it is an offering of our devotion to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you start thinking like that, your dancing will become very graceful. If you're meditating that every movement of my arms, every movement of my legs is an offering, is a sacrifice of my love to Lord Chaitanya, your movements will become very graceful. It will not be like a disco. Disco dancing is purifying if it's for Krishna, but we should grow up beyond that stage. We should actually learn to chant in kirtan nicely. We should learn to dance nicely. Not that we want to be professionals. It should be done very simple in such a way that anyone can do it, but it should be done very nicely. We do not want to be proud like professionals. One Mataji was once telling me that when she was young, she had the opportunity to learn Bharatanatyam dancing, but unfortunately she didn't. How nicely she could dance for Krishna if she would have learned like this. I said, you are very fortunate that you never learned. Because the tendency is, if you're a good dancer like that, you're not so much dancing for Krishna, you're dancing for dancing. And all of your professionally trained movements are not as sweet as just the simple, graceful dancing of a devotee. So I believe very strongly that this will be a very, very tremendous contribution to Lord Chaitanya's preaching movement if we can work together and unite to make our kirtans very devotional, very graceful, very sweet. Sweet to the ears, sweet to the eyes. Will not only attract Krishna, but it will attract every part and parcel of Krishna to the holy name. I believe on this most glorious and holy day of Gaur Purnima, if we can somehow or other come together to begin to organize ourselves in this way, this will be a great offering to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.